Welcome to The Walkthrough with 5-Star Preps, the ultimate weekly live show that dives deep into the heart of high school football right here in East Tennessee. Powered by Triple F Training. Train like a pro. Each week, Jesse Smithey and the 5-Star Prep team takes you beyond the gridiron and into the stories that define Fall Friday nights in the hills of the Great Smoky Mountains. From the thrilling touchdowns to the hard-hitting tackles and the unsung heroes who make every game unforgettable, we've got it all covered. Join Jesse Smithey as he breaks down this week's biggest games, highlights the standout performances, and gives you the most comprehensive high school football coverage in East Tennessee. Now, catch us live on The Walkthrough, presented by Triple F Training.
Welcome into The Walkthrough Week 8, presented by Triple F. Paige Dower alongside Jesse Smithey. It's always so nice being here in this location. You see people walking back and forth. It's just nice to see how filled this area is and just the variety of services that they really do offer.
Yeah, year 2 has just been completed for Triple F. Hard to believe they've been around that long, and to see them grow in the community has been unbelievable. They got their hands seemingly involved in everything. I thought they only sponsored our content. Then the other day I saw Triple F logos on somebody else's photos, and that's awesome. So they continue to branch out in the community, and guess what? I mean, basketball's right around the corner. They have a basketball gym back behind us. They have a special skills trainer that comes in and works with their athletes. Somebody I'm considering sending my son to. So check it out, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever. They have the people to help your child and your children train and get up to speed with what they need to do skill-wise. But again, it's more than just skills. They mentor kids. They're in there with their Bible study again tonight, pizzas and everything. So many different services here at Triple F for the entire family.
Yeah, and every aspect is so important and so crucial to the next. I want to look back at last week's high school football season real quickly, because there was a lot of chaos last week and a lot of expected wins, a lot of dominant wins. We can start with Alcoa, who handed West pretty fairly as they get their revenge on the West Rebels. We
do need to take a second for our weekly Jack Keith appreciation defensive, I won't say post, but another interception, another defensive touchdown. That's what, 6 interceptions, 4 defensive touchdowns for him. Of course, that in the first half, it helped West kind of stay competitive with.
Responsible of their 7 of 10 points.
But it followed pretty much the same path as Greenville. And we talked on last week's show about Alcoa having 2 weeks to prepare for an opponent. And Greenville came out, put 10 to 14 points on the board in the first half, and then Alcoa shut them down in the second half. And pretty much the same could be said for that Alcoa West game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
thankfully West has another strong defense, which I think has been really the recipe to this team the last couple of years. And it's proving to be something that has kept them in games or pulled them away and held on to a win. Maryville, though, there was no question in that game, which was a bit of a surprise when we were looking to last week on, was it going to be Maryville, Bearden, close blowout? It ended up being a blowout.
I can't remember going to a game with as much anticipation and then 4 minutes into the game, turning to the person next to me and saying, I'm ready to go.
Wow.
And that's what happened. Bearden had a high snap, gave Maryville the ball on the 6-yard line, touchdown. Next series for Bearden, high snap, gives Maryville the ball around the 30-yard line, touchdown. Bearden's next series, shanked punt, touchdown. I mean, it's 21-0 in no time in this highly anticipated 6A showdown, a region game at that. Just turns into an absolute dud. Now, we're not used to seeing Maryville put 62 points on the board. Whenever they blow out somebody, and this goes all the way back to when George Quarles was the coach as well, it would be 42-7, 49 maybe at most, but Bearden just kept coming, kept putting points on the board, and Maryville had to keep its starters in and eventually put them away. So it was a dominant performance. I know Maryville probably has some things they didn't like in the second half defensively. They got burned on a deep touchdown pass and whatnot, but they're in position A coming out of their off week next week.
Yeah, another blowout happened to be Baylor and Macaulay, which you're not expecting all of these blowouts to happen in a week where a lot of these are region matchups, but this one a little surprising as well.
Surprising also that they didn't do the diss tracks, the rap battles.
I was looking all over, and I'm glad you didn't see any because I didn't see any either. I'm like, there's so much hype around this.
And I talked about it, and I was so excited about it, but this year they kept it classy. They did these long kind of cinematic trailers and hype videos. they were still well done. I mean, the budgets at those two schools are Hollywood-esque, so it's definitely worth the watch, but the game was not worth the watch.
Yeah.
Baylor just absolutely dominated McCallie and basically kind of backed up its reputation in the state as the best football team in the state. And they have the best players, they have the best facilities, they have the deepest pockets. It's what it is, and the rest of the state's playing catch up in that division.
Yeah, a good note here in East Tennessee is Farragut. They're getting or got their first win on this season, new era for the Admirals, and they're finally in the win column.
Absolutely, 28-20 over Bradley Central, and that's a region win for Farragut. They win one more region game. I think they're in the playoffs. So
that'd be awesome.
That they have a couple of games that are out there that may be a coin toss game for Farragut, but the excitement in Jeff Courtney, the excitement on the team, you could see it in the post-game videos of them saying, "Hey, coach, we won this for you."
Yeah.
His first year as a head coach, taking over for his legendary father. I know that probably comes with its own set of pressures and expectations, and he didn't want that season to start off winless like it has been. So now they have some belief. They have some things to play for. Again, that playoff spot. It's going to be a fun, I think, last 3 or 4 weeks for Farragut following the Admirals.
Yeah, absolutely. Who also had a lot of fun and then just heartbreak was the Northview and Carter game. You thought Carter was about to walk it off as Brody Sparks gets a 36-yard touchdown reception, but then there's illegal motion from one of the wide receivers. You call it back, cut the music, fans stay in the stands. They attempt to go downfield again. It ends in an interception, and Northview hold on to their win. Absolutely crushing. But fundamentals, you might hate it, but they end up going a long way. Just kind of initial reaction to the chaos, really, of that game.
Yeah, that was a game that I was tracking on my phone late into the night before I had to start doing some media duties, and I never got like a end score to it until 45 minutes after the game had ended, and it was surprising to see, just given the nature of that back and forth affair. You felt like Carter was probably going to get the ball last and maybe win it, given how everybody was scoring in the final minutes of the game. But that's sort of what we anticipated with that game. High scoring, fun, lots of touchdowns. Mason Phillips, the quarterback for Northview Academy. We've talked about him on this program and how he's going to be playing college football on Saturday somewhere. Great dual threat quarterback who can score with his legs just as easily as he can with his arms. And so I'm sure he did his thing in that game. And of course, Carter's offense always puts up points.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's turn now to the top 12. A lot of shakeup happening in the top 12. Also stay with us. Coming up later, we'll hear from Maryville's head coach, Derek Hunt. Firstly, your top 12. A lot of movement, but no movement when it comes to Maryville at number 1. Alcoa at 2, Anderson County at 3, Powell at 4, but now we have Sevier County at 5. That was a bit of a shakeup in that top 5.
Yeah, and so I call these things the power rankings. And so I don't want it to just be a traditional poll. And when I sat down this Sunday to do the top 12 and I looked at Sevier County, I'm like, man, I can't judge them on what they've done in the previous 5 or 6 weeks. Their running back, Tegan Avera, is going to be out for 4 or 5 weeks. They did not look as strong offensively. And I know it's going to take some time to create new running production without him, but I just felt like at this time, are they the number 3 team in 5-star preps without Tegan Avera? And I couldn't do it. So I had to slide them back a couple spots, move Anderson County up, move Powell up, because I feel like they're stronger than Sevier County at this point. Now, week 11, first round of the playoffs, it could be completely different when Tegan Avera comes back. For right now, we had to slide Sevier County down a couple.
Yeah. The next one's Greenville. 7 is Grace Christian, which their quarterback now has 2,000 yards, 2,000 passing yards.
2,000 passing yards is unbelievable, and it's been fantastic to see Weston Edmondson kind of flush everything he'd learned, and that's hard for a high school kid to do. You've had multiple coaches, different terminology, offensive plays, to be able to flush all that, learn anew, and have that kind of success has been unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, it almost feels unprecedented what he's doing right now. And he's Grace Christian has a couple good games coming up too, so it'd be nice to see that.
Big time games, yeah.
Our next one is Catholic, and then West, and then at number 10 is Gibbs. So they've kind of been hovering in the top 12 most of the season.
Just, again, dominated their opponent last week in Campbell County. It was a shutout. I think I saw in the Gibbs statistical report they had about 50 guys running the football. It felt like it was just kept going on and on and on. And so there were no like unbelievable statistical performances for Gibbs, but it's a chance to build depth, get a lot of kids out on the field, and who knows, at any point a player could go down, and somebody that could fill in that and plug in right there needs to have some experience, some reps, and Gibbs is able to do that. So again, some big time games coming up. in region play and basically all on the road in those region games. And so they're going to have some things to prove in this last month of the regular season.
Your next one is Oak Ridge. They've really been our number 12 team this entire season. What was the benefit of them moving to 11, or was it Bearden now being at 12 that kind of by default moved Oak Ridge? Or what have you seen from Oak Ridge that you really like?
I had to leave Bearden in there just because of the fact of their overall talent level.
Sure.
Now, they got blown out by Maryville. It's the third loss of the season, I believe. They're 3-3.
Yep.
And so they're kind of hanging on right now. And I think we're going to see a push from Bearden down the stretch to go ahead and solidify a playoff seeding for them. Oak Ridge continues to get better. They've won 4 in a row now, and I know their first half last week against Central wasn't ideal. They were down 17-7 at the half, but basically reeled off 35 consecutive points and put that game away. And didn't have the run game production that they had the previous week with DeMillion Porter, but Oak Ridge nevertheless showed its strength, kind of flexed its muscle on Central, and continued its winning way. So we'll see what they have in the next few weeks.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break here. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll hear from Maryville's head coach and Derek Hunt.
When you shop at Elliott's, your journey is our purpose.
North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your exterior needs. Visit us today at 5618 North Broadway.
The approach to these next 2 weeks, I think you have an off week next week, and they can really kind of put the Region 1 seed away that following week against Cleveland.
got a few days off because we're on our open week, but then also on fall break. But we'll come back towards the middle half of the week and practice the rest of the week and start prepping for Cleveland. There's a few things that we'll probably spend a day or two working on just us, and then we'll start prepping for Cleveland. You know, Cleveland plays Bearden next week, and so that'll be a big game. And that's what I told our guys. The very next game will be for the region championship. So no matter what happens in this game. So, we ended up in a 3-way tie at the bottom for the 3 seed last year. So this region can get crazy. We got to take care of business.
Welcome back into the walkthrough. That was just Maryville's head coach and Derek Hunt talking playoff implications, and it could get a little dicey this coming week with Bearden and Cleveland.
Yeah, even though they're on their off week here in week 8, I gotta feel like Maryville's coaches might be at that game.
Yeah.
The scouting, I'm sure they've been scouting both teams quite some time. Of course, they just got done playing Bearden, but this Cleveland team has a few transfers in, of course, especially a quarterback, and that's kind of reversed the expectations or the outlook for Cleveland this year. So Maryville's job's pretty simple. Just win that football game and take care of your 1 seed. Go ahead and lock that down and get that home playoff game, which they didn't have a year ago, which is just so abnormal to see in Blount County come the first round of the playoffs. But this Bearden-Cleveland game has some implications as well for Bearden.
Absolutely. And also stay with us after the break. Jesse Smithey has a big basketball announcement coming up for this winter time. Let's get to our Waffle House win-loss projections. Of course, you've been doing so well lately. Let's see if that trend can continue. We mentioned it, Bearden, Cleveland. Bearden, they've won the last 4 meetings. Both of these teams, though, will be coming off a loss coming into this meeting. Where do you see this game going?
I think Bearden knows they have to win this game to be a 2 seed in the region. And if you're a 2 seed, you get to host a first-round playoff game in November. Because that's so important, I think we see Bearden at its best.
Okay.
We've seen them play at their best at times, whether it's that West game or whether it's a little bit in the second half against Maryville. But I think Josh Jones stresses to his club, we have to get after this quarterback. They have guys defensively that can do that. I like Bearden to win this football game. I just do. I don't know. I'm just going to go off a hunch
I mean,
here.
I put a check mark on Bearden.
Okay.
I'll be checking you after next Friday. The next one is Brentwood and Catholic. We talked about it last week, of course. At Brentwood, you have a big-time Vols commit and their quarterback coming into Knoxville. But Catholic really, for the most part, has kind of owned this rivalry.
Catholic has struggled closing the deal on wins the last couple of weeks. You look at the Briarcrest Christian, you look at their game last week, they held the lead late in football games. I'm talking about last couple of minutes late and not being able to hold on to the lead. And do they fix that this week? It's going to be very, very difficult because George McIntyre is a quarterback cut from a different cloth.
Yes.
They were not facing George McIntyre in these last couple of weeks. They were very much facing programs that were equal to them in talent, and it just didn't go their way. George McIntyre is going to come to Knoxville. I'm sure there's going to be Tennessee coaches on the sidelines. There's going to be Tennessee fans all around that place. Big-time players like that, they love putting on a show when the spotlight is very, very bright. I like Brentwood Academy to win this football game, but Tyreek King, if they can hit on some big plays with him, whether it's jet sweeps, kickoff returns, whatever, he needs to come up with a couple scores for them to be competitive.
Yeah, I think that's where he goes and gets his Mr. Football finalist
Yeah,
accolades,
we'll
or
see.
definitely adds to it that way. Our next one will be Lenoir City and Clinton. Clinton owns the record 11-10, though. It's very 50-50 in this one.
Yeah, very 50-50, and this game I think is very important for playoff implications. That's why I kind of put it on there. Clinton has been difficult for other teams at times, and even though last week's game against Anderson County didn't go their way, they're still showing some capability from the quarterback spot, from the running back spot. We had Bryson Maddox, their big wide receiver. He continues to score touchdowns. Clinton's focus is going to be on stopping the run game of Lenoir City. Lenoir City does not throw the football all that much. They don't have to worry about that all that much. Because of that, I like Clinton to win this football game. Scott Cummings, good friend of mine. He's the head coach at Lenoir City. He's not going to like that. He's not going to like that.
Alabama Vanderbilt game. They'll have this on the Jumbotron after.
He's not going to like that, but I'm going to go with Clinton in this game.
Yes. Our next game is Rockwood and Harriman. It's 22-2. The last 24 meetings in favor of Rockwood.
Yeah. This is a tough one. This was a 50-50 game for me. I think what I heard last week is that Rockwood lost one of its top players to an injury.
Okay.
Harriman, on the other hand, they got two of the better players in Class 1A, and then they lose to Tellico Plains. So I'm a bit confused as to which way to go with this. I'm still going to go with Grayson Chris, the running back at Harriman. The season he's had, he's already over 1,000 yards rushing. I think he'll be the difference maker in that game.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. That could
But
be
again,
like an
remember,
upset alert kind of thing going on.
it's the state's longest rivalry.
Yes.
They love to brag and boast about that in this game. It's going to be a packed house. 5-Star Preps will be there covering it. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. We'll look forward to that coverage as well. Our last Waffle House win-loss projection does come with Gibbs and Carter, which is interesting about Gibbs is they have started their season 6-0, which they've not done since the 2010 season, and that one took them to the quarterfinals.
Right. There's a lot of momentum in Gibbs' favor right now, and you got to wonder, we talked about the Carter loss, kind of where they are mentally, psyche-wise going into this game. Really important game here in October. Ooh.
I know. Where am I going to do the check mark?
Yeah, it's give me Gibbs in this one, okay? I just feel like the grit.
These will be our receipts next week.
The grit, the determination of this Gibbs team. I talked to their quarterback earlier this week, and I feel like this team is focused and fired up. Kind of feels that community backing them, and so I like Gibbs to get this. It's gonna be tough though. Carter's got a lot of firepower.
Well, what's interesting, the last time that they were 6-0, they lost their 7th game of the season.
Don't say it.
Next week was Carter, and they beat Carter. So we'll see how that evens out now that this is the 7th game and not the 8th game. Stick with us after the break. We have Jesse Smithey having a big basketball announcement coming up for this winter. Stick with us.
shop at Elliott's. Your journey is our purpose.
North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your exterior needs. Visit us today at 5618 North Broadway.
Page Dower, Jesse Smithey. Jesse, we've teased it a couple of times. This basketball announcement, tell us about it.
So a couple of years ago, we started the 5-Star Preps Hoop Jam, and it was down at the Knoxville Civic Coliseum. It was a big deal. And then in year 2, we branched it out into high school gyms, and now it's even bigger. So we have our official bracket announcement tonight of the 5-Star Preps Hammers Hardware Classic. Going to be taking place at multiple gyms across East Tennessee, 48 total teams.
Oh my gosh.
And so we're going to go through these brackets one by one, and I'll just take over the show from here. If you want to get up, get some coffee or a drink.
I'll enjoy it, yeah.
So we're going to start, our first bracket is going to be the Anderson County boys bracket. Again, up in Anderson County, the teams will be Anderson County versus McMinn County in matchup 1, Halls High School versus Grace, and that will make up the top half of the bracket. You got Kingston versus Powell, which is a fantastic matchup. Kingston boys basketball should be good once again in 24-25. And then rounding out the Anderson County boys bracket, Pickett County versus Lenoir City. Moving on to the Anderson County girls bracket, Powell versus Kingston in the first matchup. You got Coalfield versus Cloudland, the battle of two kind of small communities right there in the first round. Clark Range versus Halls, and Paige, Clark Range is a program in 1A basketball that is just synonymous with winning and winning championships. So really cool to have them in our event. Again, Clark Range versus Halls. And then, of course, the host, Anderson County, against Concord Christian. Moving on to the next site will be in Alcoa. The Alcoa boys bracket will be Alcoa, two-time defending state champion, going up against Central in round 1. You got Farragut versus a really loaded Catholic team in that second matchup. So what a great top half of the bracket for the Alcoa boys bracket. On the bottom half, you got Page High School out of the Mid-State against Bradley Central, and Stone Memorial and Cade Capps, a Division I caliber player, Mr. Basketball finalist from a year ago, going up against AC Reynolds out of North Carolina. Glad to have them back in our tournament for another year. The Alcoa girls bracket, you got Maryville versus Lenoir City, Alcoa versus Stone Memorial on the bottom half of the bracket. Grace Christian versus AC Reynolds, Hardin Valley versus Catholic. Catholic, of course, the two-time defending state champions, now without Sydney Main. She's out at Florida Atlantic, but they are still good to go, going to be one of the more competitive teams around. Our third and final location, Webb School of Knoxville. Let's start with the girls. You got Webb versus CAK right off the bat.
Nice.
Mia Green, the Division I product out at Webb. You got Maddie Braden, the Division I guard from CAK. Both teams had great state tournament runs a year ago. Right there in that first game, look forward to that. The Oak Ridge girls will take on Sevier County. Again, another kind of proud program that makes it to the state tournament year after year. So that's a loaded top half of that bracket right there at Webb. On the bottom half, Morristown East versus Granger, Farragut versus Pickett County. And then finally, the Webb boys bracket. I love this. Fulton versus Trinity Christian. Hamilton Heights is an independent school, just absolutely chock full of Division I prospects and talent against Maryville. Maryville's the team that's got Division I guys on it as well. There's going to be a lot of people at that game. And on the bottom half of the bracket at Webb, Oak Ridge versus Sevier County, two big-time programs right there. And then Webb, the host, going against Hardin Valley. So 48 total teams, 3 sites, boys, girls, December 19th through the 21st. It's going to take us about 3 days to get all that played out.
Yes.
But as we get closer to the tournament time, we'll have game times, ticket prices, location, all the information you need. But we're excited. We got those brackets finalized. We want to unveil them on the program tonight. So even though it's football season, Paige, it's like we got playoff volleyball, soccer, cross country, golf. Basketball's right around the corner. I'm losing my voice. This is so many brackets.
That's a big bracket, 48 teams. That's crazy.
Basketball practice is about to start, and those games will start in basically the middle of November for basketball season. So it's about to get really busy.
And I know we're in football season, but what's your favorite part about being able to host this basketball tournament for a few years now?
Yeah, I wish we still had it at the Civic Coliseum because it kind of had this old field house feel to it downtown. but more people come out to it when it's located at satellite gyms. Just easier to park, easier to get into. It's right there in their communities, and we made sure that we put big-time matchups in each of the locations. And so whatever location you go to, you're going to see some quality basketball, that's for sure.
Yeah, just like the season is going by fast, so it'll be in December before we even know it. So last week, or this coming week, there's 150 teams that will not be playing.
Yeah.
Next week, as we take a little preview into it, I think it's 127 teams will be on a bye. Bearden, they're playing both of those weeks.
Yeah.
This one, Bearden's playing again, and they'll be taking on Oak Ridge, our number 11 and 12 team in your current top 12. We'll see what that looks like after Friday. But what do we need to know about this rivalry?
It's a good tune-up for both teams as they try to go towards the playoffs. And last year it was a back and forth affair. I believe Bearden won it kind of in the final minutes at Oak Ridge. And so you got a 5A team in Oak Ridge, you got a 6A team in Bearden. This is two powerhouse teams that are wanting to do big things in the postseason, and they use this matchup specifically just to kind of get their minds wired for what it's going to be like down the stretch.
Yeah, Bearden's won the last three, so we'll see if that continues. Our next one is Powell and Central. This is usually a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, Powell, though, really playing its best football right now, and as much notoriety as Deuce Rogers gets at quarterback or Connor Wheeler at running back, take a look at what Powell's doing defensively over the last 5 or 6 weeks. It's been unbelievable. And so that staff, offensive, defensive staff, both deserve a lot of credit.
Our next one is Webb at Gray. So Webb is 7-2 in this matchup. A fun fact, though, when I was looking at the history, Webb has been able to hold Grace to 9 or fewer points in their last 3 meetings. In fact, all time, Grace has only scored more than 9 points 3 times. But they've got a different kind of a quarterback over at Grace right now.
Right. And so I had a question posed to me last week about why Grace Christian's not getting more love in the state polls.
Sure.
Well, number one, there's 3 or 4 brand name teams above them, your CPAs of the world, things like that, that are undefeated. And if you're going to be a program that's in the mix with those type of programs, then you better win a game like this.
Yeah.
And so Grace Christian is great of a start to the Justin Price era as it's been, and what Weston Edmondson and that offense have done. Now it's crunch time. Now it's earn your spot, earn your reputation, earn your respect. And they're going to have to do that against Webb. If they don't, then everybody's going to be like, oh, now that's kind of what we thought.
Yeah.
So it's a big opportunity for Grace Christian in that game against Webb next week. That'll be one of the marquee games.
Absolutely. It almost feels like it's just as big for Webb now, especially with where, Grace has been coming and still getting used to that. Second-year head coach over at Webb. Our next one is AC and West. This was a wonky game a year ago, 8-7 final in favor of West. I don't know it's going to look anything like that this year, but if Jack Keith gets another pick 6, who knows?
Yeah. And it was this game last year. The more I think about it, when we were talking about before the show, it was this game last year where West kind of found that second gear in that drive to another state championship. They'd had a number of injuries. Marshawn Bowers, their star running back, basically the heart of that offense a year ago, had come back. He really wasn't 100%, but he willed that team for victory in that AC game. It was an ugly game. Still, nobody looked at West coming out of that game and going, okay, that's a state championship team right there. But the heart of Marshawn Bowers that he showed in that game, I think, snowballed that into bigger and better things for West. So they need another moment like that. West needs another light bulb coming on moment. Maybe we see it again against AC. We'll see.
They'll be coming off a bye week, so they'll have plenty of time to prepare for that. Our last one to look at is Cleveland and Maryville. Cleveland won 34-7 a year ago.
Yeah, again, Maryville revenge tour.
Yes.
Just been checking off teams all season long, and definitely want to get this game, get that win, get that 1 seed. Make sure you're hosting a number of playoff games in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for our show. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe to 5starpreps.com for all the latest on the high school football and baseball and basketball, all the high school scene. You can go over to 5starpreps.com to get all the latest on that, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Welcome to the walkthrough with 5-Star Preps, the ultimate weekly live show that dives deep into the heart of high school football right here in East Tennessee. Powered by Triple F Training. Train like a pro. Each week, Jesse Smithey and the 5-Star Prep team takes you beyond the gridiron and into the stories that define Fall Friday nights in the hills of the Great Smoky Mountains. From the thrilling touchdowns to the hard-hitting tackles and the unsung heroes who make every game unforgettable, we've got it all covered. Join Jesse Smithey as he breaks down this week's biggest games, highlights the standout performances, and gives you the most comprehensive high school football coverage in East Tennessee. catch us live on The Walkthrough, presented by Triple F Training.
When you shop at Elliott's, your journey is our purpose.
North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your exterior needs. Visit us today at 5618 North Broadway.